Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope everybody had a blessed Christmas. Today, I wanted to talk about suicide. Um, the title is Finding Compassion for a Courageous Spirit. For the past 9 months, um, I felt like I constantly would see, hear, and read about suicide, like randomly. Um, I could turn on TV, would see a commercial, I would drive by a billboard, I would see randomly looking on YouTube, somebody mention the word suicide, read it in a magazine, just at the random time seeing a social media post. Um, I would see it everywhere and constantly seeing it brought on a different awareness and thinking about, the topic. And I think that most people um, are somehow connected to that topic. Maybe not directly, but are somehow tied into it. Um, so, starting off, I picked 5 facts about suicide. These are from 2015. So, first topic. So, 40,000 Americans die by suicide every year. Fact two is the 10th leading cause of death. 322.2 of the suicides are committed by veterans. 4, there's an American that commits suicide every 12.95 minutes. And then lastly, South Korea has one of the highest suicide rates in the world, which I found interesting because I'm due to go there soon. Um, so it's definitely something prevalent in our society, in America, in the world in general. And I think looking on a global aspect, if it's an issue, um, what it comes down to is that we're all human beings. And I think that the one thing that connects us as human beings is our feelings. Whether we decide to tell the truth or not is still there. Um, and anything that we put on top of those feelings that comes from our ego is a way to make a group of people or just a person feel inferior or them to feel superior, in my opinion. But for example, whether you're a terrorist, whether you're an adulterer, whether you're a drug addict, whether you're a liar, in your moment or in my moment of judging you, I may think that your action is wrong, which it very well may be. Um, but everybody has a story, and somehow it's like you can never say never. There may be a situation in my life that could totally throw me out of whack, where I could end up doing the same things that you're doing merely because we're human beings and we're all connected by our feelings. So there is a chance that who knows that I could be doing some of those same things. And I think that we need to look at suicide that way, and we need to be more vulnerable and honest and open in front with our feelings. And I think that in our society, it definitely is an issue. And I think that the things that you hear about it, a lot of times, it's not to promote suicide, but the actual person that commits suicide is kind of like they're copping out, um, and they are just kind of like dragged down in the dirt. And the portion of compassion um, is kind of just like thrown out the window. And I think that sometimes we don't look at that. And I think that most people are um, affected by it, even if it's you knowing somebody that knows somebody who had a coworker or a friend or a family member that chose to commit suicide. So the first part of it I would like to bring forth is I think that we live in a world that creates fear, which this is one end of the spectrum. We live in a world that creates fear. We have, terrorist attack. We have senseless crime. We have violence, and those type of things. If you're honest, or I'm honest, that in my deepest thoughts, I wonder like when you see good people have bad things happen to them, when you see young people lose their life, um, you wonder like when will my time be? How will I go? How will it feel? Um, and I think that if you're honest, for most people, you just being okay thinking about death brings on an unsettling feeling and a fear, because we all want to find a way to extend our life, and to actually live. So that's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum with suicide, in my opinion, um, when you compare it to having those unsettling feelings with death as it relates to you, and having someone who still has that fear, because I don't think that the actual fear of committing the act goes away. I don't think it goes away. But whatever you're going through emotionally or mentally is so great that you're willing to endure that physical pain to see an end. Um, and for that, there's some type of courage. For that, there should be some type of compassion, because if I'm saying that I'm uncomfortable with death, and we all want to live, there has to be something so great, and something that you have to find some type of compassion for, that a person will be willing to endure it physically just to see a way out. Um also the added piece to that, um I do believe in God. I do believe in a higher power. And when we think about the spiritual realm, like, there's so much wonder to it. It's so much mystery, and it's intriguing. But what we do here is that it's a place of peace. It's a place of joy. And there's no pain there. And when you think about today's world, people struggle to get that feeling. Yes, we live, we're at the most, with technology and intuitive and creative, but we also live in a Hunger Games world. Um, and there seems to be a loss of humanity. So people struggle to get those feelings that we hear about the spiritual realm. So, um, and I would say that I've experienced it firsthand. My grandmother recently passed, and by the time I got a chance to see her, and spend time with her, which was a blessing, I kind of got to see her rapidly go through that transition. I had never seen her in that state before. She was in so much pain. She wasn't herself. But as time passed, um, it just made me realize some things about that situation. One, I wasn't in control, which brought on a sense of helplessness, wanting to help her. Kind of in a sense for my own selfish reasons, not wanting to let go physically, thinking about, when I get married or I have kids, wanting her to be there, but also witnessing her. She didn't have a choice, of course, because it's God's will, but she was so ready to let go. She was so tired, and there was no fear in her. She was just totally at peace, and she was ready to let go. And when she let go, um, I felt guilty for feeling a certain way, because when someone asked me how I felt, the word was relieved, because I knew that she was willing and ready to go. So for me, that gave me comfort that, in the spiritual realm, that there is a sense of peace, because I saw it firsthand. So, um, again, that's one end of the spectrum. But looking on the other end, as far as relating to suicide, when you go through so much despair, um, and when you have so much pain, and you know or don't know when there's going to be an end, and you believe consciously or unconsciously that you're ready for it to end, and there is an end in peace in the spiritual realm. um who wouldn't want to feel peace? And it's more of a matter of having something so great that you will be willing, um to actually get there yourself, and not follow the will of God. But so I think that there needs to be a sense of compassion, We need to expose our vulnerabilities, and we need to talk about how we feel, because I think that, I can't speak for all, but I would say more than few have probably at a minimum thought about suicide, have thought about it. So I think that, whether the person, could actually acts out and do it, is grounded in those thoughts. I think that the majority of the world has actually, at least at a minimum, thought about it. And it's obvious in our, the rates as they are increasing, and the things that are going on in this world. So if I could give one thing to this world, it would be to bring compassion. It would bring a voice, to the issues that people don't want to talk about. We expose and we exploit so many things, like sex and materialistic things, but the things that are really affecting our society, depression, anxiety, feelings of loss, feeling of feeling different, feelings of feeling unheard. Some people will never have the courage to say, this has happened to me before. These are the things that I still go through. These are the things that I, want to overcome, or these are the things that I have overcome. And I think that we need more of that in a world, so that many won't suffer in silence. Um, so yeah. So these are my opinions. I'm not promoting suicide, but in thinking about the topic itself, I wish that the world would bring more compassion. And if there is somebody that, does have those feelings, just know that you're alive for a reason. Know that other people have probably had those thoughts, whether they wanted to admit it or not, and know that, um, there is a reason for your existence. And find hope and find that light in that alone, that with your existence there's something that is, meant for you, that you can only bring to this world. So, um, that's it. God bless.